How do you know that you're metabolically flexible? Great question, isn't it? Well, what is metabolically flexibility in the first place? In a nutshell, it's simple. Just think about the body's ability to shift between burning carbs and burning fat. Well, isn't that normal for everybody to do? Isn't that normal for the body to do it? Yes, if it's in equilibrium. The question is next is how does the body get out of equilibrium to do this kind of things? Well, it comes often from eating too much of one macronutrient or another. Example, when somebody's in a diet that is high on carbs, and especially ultra-processed carbs, talking about all these processed foods from pastas to breads and pizzas and even alcohol and candy and pastries and yada, right? All bread and all the stuff that we see that a lot of people eat. Well, that is a body that is conditioned to keep burning carbs because that's mostly what they're getting. So the body says, oh, in order for me to get the energy that I need to operate and succeed in my life, in my profession, I gotta go and get those carbs. So, well, what else it happens when a person is consuming these levels or dependent on these high levels of carbs? Well, they're here with their glucose, right? Their glucose is likely elevated, and every time they feel a dip in their energy, they go and consume some more. Hence goes into a lot of individuals eating a high carb meal or meals to be eating multiple times. It's a bunch of crap to say that, oh, you gotta eat multiple times a day to keep your metabolism. No. If you eat properly and balanced with all macronutrients, carbs, proteins, and fats, you're gonna be fine to eat 3 times a day, sometimes even 2, depending on what your goals are. So going back to the carbs. So the body's conditioned over here to eat these carbs all the time. It actually can take a minute, long minute, for the body to shift from burning carbs, utilizing the carbs for energy, to dipping into the fats that is stored in the body naturally. The fats are stored in the body to be broken down as well, be used for energy. But if the person is feeding carbs all the time, well, it's not going to get to the storage. Ultimately, what this leads to? Well, leads to glucose issues. Elevated levels of glucose, insulin, the person can become insulin resistant, where the cells really are saying, no, insulin is too much glucose going on. This glucose is not getting to the cells because the cells the insulin receptors on the cells are getting like, it's too much of this glucose, too much of this insulin circulating, so they become resistant. And all of a sudden the person is getting signs of fatigue, irritability, mood swings, belly fat, weight gain, because the glucose levels stay elevated in the body. So is insulin. The person can become insulin resistant, which then is going to impact every single cell in the body. Now, we talk about the carbs, a person eating a high carb diet. Now let's shift into the opposite, which is a carnivore diet. A carnivore diet is eating primarily meats, right? They barely put any carbs on your mouth. Well, I'm not here to discuss the consequences or the pros and cons of this diet, but then when that individual eats carbs, whether even if it is complex carbs like sweet potatoes or quinoa or some butternut squashes, even broccoli, certain plant-based that are higher in carbs, they're going to have some problems processing that. The body's not going to shift, so it can have the tendency for some of those individuals to keep the glucose elevated because it's not used to shifting to go from burning the proteins over here to the carbs. Then there is another diet that we all know about, a ketogenic diet, which again is what? Carbs and fats. So if you've been going on a ketogenic diet and you are measuring your ketones and you're in ketosis all the time, and again, when you go to eat carbs, that can create a problem in your body. So your body is no longer metabolically flexible, right? And so again, when we eat those foods or even go on the damn vacation, he says, I'm going to make some changes. I'm going to let it go a little bit. And you have maybe a sangria. Maybe you have, a pizza. Maybe you have some hush puppies. I don't know what you're going to have that is high on carbs, ultra-processed foods, and things like that, that normally in a metabolically flexible body, You would consume that and the body would use that for energy. And then when that is all gone, then shift again back to fat. Well, a person might have some issues doing that transition if they're for a long time in a ketogenic diet or even a carnivore diet. And the person on a high carb diet also gonna have problems diving into the fat storage to burn. So it is an important topic. And by the way, Coach Maria here from BFABU, your functional, holistic wellness practitioner and coach. So let's talk a little bit more about measuring metabolic flexibility. There is a device in the market for many years now called Lumen, Lumen. I was one of the first adopters years ago. And I used for a while, and then I didn't use it. And a few months ago, I said, you know what? Let me start using again. And you know what? I had, prior to that, last year, I started adding a little bit more carbs like oatmeal and things like that as a pre-workout to get stronger, in which it did get me stronger. So I was eating a little bit more of those carbs. And by the way, carbs, healthy carbs, those are the ones that I choose most of the time. What is healthy carbs? They're from plants most of the time, right? We're talking about sweet potatoes. We're talking about as complex carbs. Sweet potatoes, some organic oats, quinoa, it could be amaranth, could be buckwheat, could be things like that higher levels of carbs. And then what are other carbs? Well, we think about all the vegetables and fruits. And yes, some of the fruits can be tropical. It can be really high in carbs. Oranges, tangerines, pineapple, mangoes, kiwis. For some individuals, that can elevate the blood sugar quite high. Anyway, so when I talk about carbs, especially myself, and when I talk to my clients, and I'm talking about healthy carbs like that, I'm not talking about the ultra-processed stuff, which a lot of individuals are on and becomes really problematic, and in the long term can lead to chronic diseases. So going back over here, so I noticed that when I started Lumen again, it took my body about a week to actually transition back to eating fat. How did I do that? Well, fasting. So start making sure that I'm fasting at least 12 hours overnight, right? Which is a great tool. Plenty of studies about fasting and the benefits. Yet we have to manage that with exercise when we're exercising, yada yada. I guide all my clients into the fasting and exercising and timing and things like that. So after a week, I was back into waking up on burning fats and things like that. Let me tell you, by the way, if you've never seen this device, this is the device. So basically you breathe, inhale through here, you hold your breath for about 10 seconds and exhale. Lumen uses CO2 from our breath to give an indication if you are burning fats or carbs. And after you use for a while, you really start guessing. And also another thing that you're going to learn with a device like this is very helpful for you to understand what is a great zone or length of time that you start burning fat from a fast. So anyway, one of the things that it does after you wake up burning fat 4 days in a row, on the fourth day, what it does is give you a boost day, meaning that, hey lady, you're burning fat quite a bit over here. We need to get you to consume more carbs so you train your body to eat the carbs, right? To actually use the carbs and come back to the fats. So I've hit several boost days. And today I decided to share with you because let me tell you, I start eating and buying some foods to prepare for those boost days. And it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun because I'm eating foods that normally I wouldn't to the amount that I eat, that is required. So when you wake up and it's the fourth day of your waking up on a burning fat, the rule is your first meal is going to be high on carbs. You got to put at least 60 grams of carbs. Let me tell you, this is not a recommendation I give to my clients in general, right? Because most of my peeps have a lot of fat to burn, and they're, yes, metabolically unhealthy, a lot of carbs consumption. So we have to go and dive into the fat storage. So what I'm sharing with you, the meal that I have this morning It's very unusual. It's not something that I would recommend. But I'm doing this, right, because it's a great self-study. And there is several things in this app that gives you as far as how you improve your flexibility, your metabolic flexibility. It gives indications of recommendations of how many carbs, proteins, and fats, and yada, 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 all that kind of stuff. But my point today, I wanted to share with you this breakfast that is so unusual, but it gave me 70 grams of carbs. And in about, I want to say, an hour and a half from now that I'm recording this video, I'll be at the gym. So I'll be using some of these carbs. Although a lot of time has passed, some of this is going to be stored. But this is part of the process. So this breakfast, let me tell you, which I got this at Costco, it's called Purely Elizabeth. It's fairly healthy or healthier granola. It's all organic. And it has gluten-free oats, coconut sugar, coconut oil, sunflower, amaranth, quinoa flakes, chia seeds, cinnamon, and sea salt. It's pretty good. Now, it has 18 grams of carbs, 3 grams of protein. Great tool to have it today. I had 3 servings of this. 3 servings, and a serving is a 1/3 of a cup. So I had about 1 full cup of this, which is about 90 grams. What else did I have it? To hit the 71 grams of carbs, I had an experiment with A2 organic milk. I have a sensitivity to milk, and I'm testing to see if I can tolerate A2 organic. It's still on the air. The amounts of milk or casein or dairy that I can have is very limited. Otherwise, I get some side effects. But anyway, this is just to get a little creamy, a little foundation, but it's very little on carbs, 5 grams of carbs, and actually 8 grams of protein per serving. And that is a 3/4 of a cup. I only had a half of a cup. I just wanted something to mix with this granola. What else did I have? I put about a cup of unsweetened almond milk, vanilla. Again, I got it, all this stuff I got at Costco, by the way. I'm a Costco chick. And then what else did I have? Oh boy, yes, honey. I love this boost days because I eat honey. And 1 tablespoon of honey is 70 grams and has 18 grams of carbs. So that was my breakfast. 1 tablespoon of this, 3 servings of the granola, about half a serving, 85 grams of this yogurt over here, and 1 cup of the vanilla. This was sweet. Sweet that I'm like, woo! And if you know me, you know that I used to be pre-diabetic, a lot of chronic digestive issues, eating disorder, and all that stuff. For me to say ultra sweet, you know what it is. But back on the day, this would be like heaven. And I'm not saying that doesn't taste good, it does, but if I had my CGM, my continuous glucose monitor, which again, I add that to programs and that I guide people with, I would have been seeing my glucose very high right now. Very, very high. I ate this thing about 20 minutes ago. And it's kind of interesting. I love being a guinea pig. And so the tool now, the idea over here is to measure my CO2 level about an hour or 2 after I ate my breakfast. So that is how it goes. And we're going to be able to see if really I got to a level that, yes, you are burning carbs. That's what you want. And then soon after, it should go down for me to burn fat. So it's kind of really cool to see all this going on. So obviously, most of my carbs I consume in the morning today. And so throughout the day, I'm going to put very little carbs and mostly proteins and fats. So I like to do this experiments every time I go into a boost day, because I also learn that if I add a significant amount of protein or fats to this first meal with high content of carbs, I actually don't shift to burning carbs. So it's kind of really interesting. It takes me a while to shift to burn carbs. So I'm like, today is primarily carbs. I think the meal in total had less than 10 grams of protein and about 15 grams of fat and 70 grams of carbs. So I'm looking forward to see what's going to happen when I measure this in the next hour or two. And in the next hour and a half, I'll be exercising as well. So that would be interesting. So I'll measure this just before exercise, which hopefully will be kind of elevated so I can use all that glucose for my lifting day. Today, we're going to be lifting weights, heavy presses, heavy weights, and all that kind of stuff. So that will be a great segue to go into my lifting. And then for the rest of the day, I will control my diet to be mostly protein and fats. So anyway, this is all interesting stuff. I love being a guinea pig. And if you have any questions about how I can help you to reach, metabolic flexibility, even if you don't have a device, improve your metabolic health, which is help you lose weight, help you ditch the belly fat, improve your physical and mental strength, reduce cravings, irritability, improve your mood, improve your sleep, manage your stress better, and improve your digestion, improve your hormones. Yes, there is a ton that I can help you with as being a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner who looks into data, look into not only from blood work, from a functional perspective, but also looking into your body, how it's functioning by giving you access to functional lab testing like stool, hormones, liver capabilities or abilities or whatever you want to call it, looking into organic acids, nutrient deficiencies. There is so much that we can dive in when we apply this functional lab testing. And yes, food sensitivities as well. And also guiding individuals, adding CGM and guiding you through this. Again, continuous glucose monitor. Why? That is an amazing tool for you to learn about your body, how it's reacting to foods, how you can do better, food swaps that you can make so you can improve your insulin sensitivity, which again is going to help getting the nutrients, the glucose that you're eating from healthy foods that I'll help you, guide you to do so your body can generate energy. All right? So until then, it could be that this stubborn weight and belly fat and all these other symptoms are there potentially because your metabolic health is low. And I can help you put these complex things into simplicity, make it simple for you and help you put a plan together. So if any of this or all of this sounds interesting, please send me a private message and I will guide you how to schedule a free energy optimization session with me. And then there, we're gonna discuss what's going on with you, and we're gonna discuss how I can help you if that's the case. And there is a good chance that I can help you as long as you're willing to make the changes yourself. Coach is always a practitioner. We cannot do it alone. It depends on you. So if it is urgent enough, if you're willing to invest on yourself to the next level of your productivity, focus, energy, and health to be there for you, for your colleagues at work, for your family, for your retirement coming forward, years ahead, whatever it is, I am your chick. Again, Maria Horstman, your holistic functional wellness practitioner at bfabbu.com. I look forward to meeting you soon. Have a great day.